Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with the speaker is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
Open to the public in 1990, Okayama International Circuit rose to fame and crashed just as quickly. Finding its place among the world's best circuits on the F1 calendar in the early 90s, the then Tanaka International Circuit, AIDA, solidified itself as a true contender as one of Asia's premier racing facilities. However, in the late 90s, sanctioning bodies began leaving the then TI circuit behind, only being pushed further away with the death of then defending Japan Grand Touring Car Championship driver Shingo Tachi at the circuit. Okayama received its modern name in 2005 and made a brief comeback for Formula V6 Asia and the FIA World Touring Car Championship. Okayama was sold to Asuka Corporation in 2012, but not before iRacing visited and scanned the track, immortalizing it as free content available to all members of the iRacing.com service. Welcome, race fans, to Pit Stop TV. As usual, we're live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter tonight. I've got JP Costa alongside me in the booth. I am Andrew Cardinale IV, and this is Pit Stop TV's live coverage of the Northwest GT3 Challenge at Okayama International Circuit at the virtual Mimisaka Okayama Prefecture in Japan for the third race of the season, rather. Kind of tripped up over myself there at the end, guys, but I'm very happy to have you guys alongside of me here at Okayama. I think this is a real cool racetrack. I don't think it deserves, I don't think it receives, rather, all of the credit that it gets. I'm trying to say it doesn't get all the credit it deserves. There we go. I finally got the words out there. But, yeah, for sure, I think this is a really cool place to race, and I'm really glad that we are here this evening. I'm really glad to have you alongside me, JP.
Yeah, exactly. I'm really happy to be here as well. It's such a great circuit. Looks amazing, drives amazing, flows really well. And unfortunately, it doesn't get used in real life anymore. But luckily, we're able to see it here on the service for this amazing league. I'm just expecting just a fantastic race today. Obviously, we have over 30 GT cars on this fantastic circuit, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be a fantastic race, just like the first two rounds.
Yeah, we've had two great races at Barcelona and Brands Hatch in recent weeks, and very glad to bring Northwest GT3 Challenge competition to all of you viewers at home via Pit Stop TV. Since we actually mentioned those first two amazing races to get the season opened up, let's take a look at the point standings coming into this evening after two races on the season. This is after Barcelona and Brands Hatch. Garrett Alessandro didn't look like he was going to win his second race last week until the closing laps, lap 39, I believe, of 43. He gets that pass done on Chris Brunnemer, who had an awful showing at Barcelona, but backed it up with a second place last week at Brands Hatch. Is currently second place in practice here at Okayama. He is not in the top 10, but James Hansen is, and he's in second place, just 5 points out of the points lead. Eric Molinari is up there. Now he comes in tied for third. It is worth mentioning, unfortunately, that Eric Molinari has bowed out of the rest of the season. We wish him the best in his future endeavors. Unfortunately, because of real-life circumstances, he is not able to compete, at least for the near future. Hopefully, he does return, but he moved himself up right onto the podium for the season after just 2 races, and he was looking good as well. Brandon Glenn Boyd joins him tied for third, 11 points back out of the lead. Justin McKayla there as well, within 13 points of the points lead. Then it kind of drops back a little bit to Whiplash Racing entry Trevor Anderson in 6th place, JP. You have Sarah Rabb right there with him, just 1 more point back, and then you actually have a 5-way tie for the 8th place position in points. And I actually want to bring this back up. So we only have 5 pictured, and that's because we only go through the top 10 in our point standings. But what I want to do real quick is actually pull up the PDF on my end and tell everybody who those other 2 drivers are that are tied for 8th position, because it's an expansive tie, of course, and it includes Claude Remillard and Andre Millette, who are not pictured here, but they are tied with Mikkel Rudebusch, Gavin Cohn, and Michael Doling. Gavin Cohn, by the way, up from 24th position to be tied now for 8th place, technically in 9th, at least that's where he's listed per the series, so we listed him in 9th place. Incredible that everything's so close, especially right there, 8th through 12th position, all tied up.
Yeah, exactly. You know, some of these drivers just show how consistency is the key to keep your championship hope alive, but some of these drivers show just how good one race can bounce you back straight over the championship. You mentioned Gavin Cohn. He finished Barcelona in 23rd place, and then he came into Brands Hatch, finished 4th, and he shot himself up into 9th place in the standings, so that is incredible. James Hansen also is a prime example of consistency. He finished both races in P3, so both races he was on the podium, and he's just five points back from Garrett D'Alessandro. So, you know, even if you have a bad weekend on one week, obviously, and then you can bounce yourself over the next one, you know, you can see yourself shooting up on those standings really quickly.
And I mentioned that Chris Brenner was currently second in practice. That was incorrect because we are in qualifying now. Let's take a look at the track map before we get down to qualifying. We check out who's fast and who's not. You see, so it's you can kind of see the corner numbers. I had to figure out a way to really present things, mostly with that mess of corners that's all compacted 5 through 9, where it's all just all over itself, kind of like spaghetti. But anyways, you go through the first corner. I think it's an appropriate name. Then you head down to turn 2, which is called Williams, the Moss S, which is technically turn 3, and then the Atwood curve, which is kind of a double apex hairpin while going uphill. It's real tricky to get right, and it's one of those places that can absolutely catch these drivers off guard, can cause an incident or two, and you got to be real careful, especially on corner exit right there, but also corner entry. I think just that entire corner, corner number 4 Atwood curve, one to watch out for this evening. You also have the hairpin down to turn 5, also very, very tight, difficult to get right, but they do have a little bit of banking to aid them. You can kind of see at the bottom right of your screen right now, it's behind those trees. This blimp cam should turn around to see it in a moment, but you do have a little bit of banking in that corner to kind of help you out. You head down to turn 6, which is revolver, and that just drops you right down into the mess that is turn 7, turn 8, and turn 9, Piper, Redmond, and Hobbs, respectively. Finally, you exit that mess, those couple of extra hairpins in there that make it almost a perfect S. You go around the couple of right-handers, Mike Knight corner, and aptly named the last corner, turn 11. This is actually a really cool racetrack. Again, I don't think it gets all of the credit that it deserves, JP. We were talking a little bit pre-race. It's actually a really cool racetrack, and very glad that Racing Series on iRacing are still using this free track.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry. You know, unlike Brands Hatch, we do have a lot of overtaking opportunities on this track. Obviously, a few of them are not going to be used, such as Williams and the Moss S, but pretty much the whole rest of the racetrack can be used as an overtaking opportunity. Obviously, we're going to be seeing moves into first corner. We're going to be seeing moves into Atwood curve, and moves into their hairpin. Those I'm pretty sure are going to be the prime overtaking spots. But you know, throughout the VRS week, I saw people going all the way from turn 5 all the way to turn 10 side by side, battling for positions. So this is definitely going to be a fantastic circuit to to commentate, to spectate tonight. And, you know, just over 12 minutes left on qualifying, and then we can get into the exciting race that's going to be that 1 hour race around Okayama.
And let's just get right into it, because Tyler Campbell, currently our fastest qualifier. This is actually a really cool surprise to see Tyler Campbell doing so well right now. I don't think we expected this one, that he was going to pass not only Chris Brunnemer, but also Garrett D'Alessandro, who's just been the best these past couple of races. He was almost beaten last week at Brands Hatch. Keep that in mind, but he did still get the win in the end, which is just very impressive from Garrett. He does have some real-life racing experience as well, I believe. But Tyler Campbell, P1 right now in qualifying. Now, we've still got 11 minutes. In fact, we can get the ticker up as well, and we can show everybody how this is all lining up right now with all 31 cars that have shown up so far. 11 minutes to go here in this qualifying session, and Tyler Campbell leading the way by less than a tenth over his teammate Garrett D'Alessandro. Brady Lubenow moves up into third place. I think that's rather recent. That drops Chris Brunnemer actually into fourth position. Mikkel Ruderbusch, now he did get a penalty for what happened at Brands Hatch 1 week ago, but he is in fifth place right now in qualifying. I don't think the penalty was too extensive, mostly just saying, hey, we didn't quite appreciate some of these moves that led to some of those incidents last week. I think both of them in turn 8, but it sounded like there might have been a couple others. Regardless, I think he's just looking to rebound this evening and get himself back on the right track. Now, Mikkel has been great these last couple of races, and he's been a contender to get into the top 10 both times, but last week, turn 8 just was not his friend.
Yeah, exactly. You know, just as you mentioned, he finished P12 on Barcelona and P11 on Brands Hatch, but tonight is looking really strong. Like, he's right on pace. He's less than a tenth behind. He's actually exactly half a tenth behind Chris Brunnemer. So, you know, showing great pace on these early stages of qualifying, this first part of qualifying. So it's definitely good to see some of these drivers mixing it up. Obviously, Tyler J. Campbell, you know, it's completely the surprise of the night for me. We obviously expect to see Garrett and Chris on the top 2 dominating, but we obviously have Tyler in P1, Brady Lubenow in P3, and Mikkel Ruderbusch in P5, so we do have a nice little mix that should make this race very exciting from the get-go.
And Mikkel's teammate Kyle Robinson currently in 6th place right now as they stand in qualifying, 9.5 minutes to go. James Hansen in 7th place, Brandon Glenn Boyd in 8th, and then Sarah Rabbs on the racetrack. She is currently in 9th position, been as high in the session as 4th place, but has dropped just inside the top 10. John Whitendorf, as Sarah actually wrecks back there, that's a big hit for her here in qualifying, but John Whitendorf, who was not at Brands Hatch last week, but finished 2nd at Barcelona to open up the season. He returns here this evening at Okayama International Circuit. He is currently in the 10th position of qualifying, just inside that top 10 with Sarah Rabb. Edwin Littolf, he is 11th in the RSR AM BMW, and another BMW joining him very closely outside the top 10 is Trevor Anderson. Look at that, we finally have his little picture of his livery right there.
Yeah, exactly. A really cool livery there, you know, with double, pretty much 2 colors livery. But coming down the grid again, we have John McClintock in P13 running that sweet Audi. In P14 we have Sven Hartmann. Pretty sure he's running the Ferrari. He's currently on the pits right now. In P15 we have Gavin Cohn. So not a great qualifying session for him, but I'm pretty sure he can bounce back. P16 we have Claude Ramillard. So one of those drivers that's tied up for points with Gavin. So those 2 drivers are going to be 2 for lookout if they keep these positions. In P17 we have Justin Michaela on another Audi, as we see. P18 another Audi in Tom Ethy. I'm not pretty sure if he's a new entry. I don't recall that name, but it's good to see him again. P20 we have Torin Longaker, and P21 we have Jeffrey Belt.
And we have had more entries here late in this qualifying session. Looks like we have as many as 34, 35, 36, 37, 38 cars this evening at Okayama. We'll take you through a lot of the rest of them here as James Allen is currently in the 22nd position here in qualifying. He's on the pit lane. You can just see his livery back there. Michael Della Sala is on the racetrack. Looks like his paint is not loading. We'll try and fix that, but you see what it should look like there on the bottom right. He is currently 23rd. Alan Roth is 24th, and I think his livery should be updating here shortly as well. 25th currently going to Randall Ayers, and well, he actually made our thumbnail for Barcelona, but we haven't seen a whole lot of the 83 since, so we're looking for him to bounce back this evening at Okayama International Circuit. Michael Bishop, I think, also a new entry to the series. He's 26th, but 27th going to Justin Craig right now in qualifying, followed up by Jackson Lowry, and his teammates are towards the top of the board. He is not quite following them up right now. He is, again, 28th spot. Josh Jabirek is 29th. Jason Frisk, the next car on the racetrack, in 30th position. And we'll let his paint load right there, and you can see the Fanatec number 89. David Pena is currently in the, the next position back, that'd be 31st, and we should be able to get his and Frisk's livery on the overlays come next week, I believe. Steven Erlenbusch, we have his paint scheme. I don't think we've seen him since Barcelona, but it's a great looking car, actually. I love this paint here, JP. It just, I don't know, something about it looks really, really good. The Shift F1 colors on that Audi R8.
Yeah, exactly. If you get the right color scheme on the Audi, it can look really mean, really menacing, and clearly the team really got it right. And jumping down for the last time for now, Bernd Osterhag, I'm pretty sure I pronounced that wrong, but Bernd Osterhag. And then we have 4 drivers who haven't set a lap time: Justin Williams, Gary A. Brown, Mick Blue, and Jim Aiken. I'm pretty sure we didn't see a Brands Hatch, but posted a really strong race in Barcelona. And this is qualifying. Currently, the top 5 actually haven't changed, so looks really promising for Tyler to get the first pole position of the season for him.
Yeah, the rest of the top 10 has changed, though. Sarah Rabb now down at a 10th place. You can see that on your ticker on the left side. Brandon Glenn Boyd in 9th. James Hansen has dropped down to 8th position. Can you believe that? Kyle Robinson up to 7th. John Weitendorf in 6th. Everything else ahead of that has stayed about the same, though. We have about 5 minutes left in qualifying, and I guess go ahead and we will enter, I got to figure out words. We'll open up, rather, the chats here on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, wherever you're watching from. Go ahead and let us know where you're watching from, who you're pulling for. I know we have a lot of good fans that tune in usually for these races. We want to know, especially where you Alan Roth fans are watching from this evening.
And just as we, approach the final 5 minutes of this race, talking about this racetrack, I'm pretty sure, not only we're going to see a lot of fantastic overtakes, but a lot of mistakes, just like we saw last week at Brands Hatch. You can see this track doesn't have any runoff areas, and with the tire model and obviously these cars, you cannot stop once you get into grass. So minimizing those mistakes, just like we saw in qualifying, some drivers making mistakes in wrecking, is going to be critical to make sure you get a good result this week. We don't want to see obviously a lot of drivers wrecking, but since last week we saw just a little bit a dip on the grass can throw you against the wall. So minimizing damage is going to be critical, and it's going to be interesting to see which driver put a lot of practice, because obviously, as I'm pretty sure everybody's watching, we had Petit Le Mans over the weekend, the last iRacing special event for 2020, so it's going to be really interesting to see who focused on that and who focused on the GT3 challenge. And currently it looks like Tyler focused a lot on this track, and it's currently paying off for him.
Yeah, you mentioned Petit Le Mans taking some of these drivers' time. I know even the Whiplash Racing drivers, particularly the 2 that are in this race this evening and one of the spotters, were racing at Petit this past weekend. I don't recall the positions they each got, even though they're kind of in-house teams with us, but they did have okay runs. I think there was good speed throughout the team, just didn't quite put a race together for either one of those operations. But let's actually focus just real quickly, since we're waiting to end qualifying here. Here is Michael Della Sala with his paint now loaded in that number 14 car. He is here this evening, as he has been the last 2 weeks. We also had, I gotta find him again, I forget what number he even runs. He's one of my drivers, but Trevor Anderson, the 211, there we go, as he is going to re-enter the racetrack. And they were teamed together in a Dallara LMP2 car. We had Tyler Langenberg, which is actually Trevor's spotter, but he also helps Michael out. Tyler was paired up with Anton Burspo. And if we have anybody out in the chat watching that ran at Petit Le Mans this past weekend at Road Atlanta, definitely let us know what you were driving and how you did as well. We want to know how you guys did, especially if any drivers come in real quick and hear us talking about them and talking about Petit Le Mans. If you guys are waiting on practice to finish just like we are and you hear us talking about it, let us know how you did this past weekend. But yeah, that's definitely going to have taken a lot of drivers' time, and I think directly impact how this race goes, because everybody's been focusing on Road Atlanta, not so much Okayama, completely different racetracks. I think you might be able to take some things to one another, but unless you're running a GT3 Mercedes or Audi, of which there are no Mercedes entered in this series, I don't think you're going to be able to translate too much from Petit over to this weekend, or sorry, this race rather at Okayama Circuit. But that might change the rest of the season. I think everybody's going to focus pretty much on road racing. I don't think we're going to have Petit Le Mans guys. Sorry, I don't think we're going to have these guys doing special events. Really, it just comes down to. I think just the Chili Bowl is the last special event. I think there is an IMSA series that's coming to iRacing, kind of a 3-race thing that you can run. I forget what tracks they're doing. I want to say Laguna Seca's in there. So you can check that out on the forums and check out more about that. Obviously, I'm not the greatest to educate people about it, but that should be fun. I think we'll be taking part in that. But I think that's the only thing that's going to hold these guys from practice time. I think everybody else is going to focus on their league racing right here. And they have all week to run the VRS races, but when you have a special event like that, it just takes up your time.
Yeah, exactly. I know I focus a lot of my free time on Petit Le Mans, which unfortunately it didn't go our way. We're in 5th split, and unfortunately we got tangled up in a crash. Not our fault, but it happened. We pushed through it. But these drivers, obviously, since they run the VRS schedule, they can practice a lot. They can take a lot of what they learn on the VRS race and translate it into this race. Obviously, this race is 20 minutes longer, so you have to adapt to a larger fuel tank, a larger car after the pit stops, and obviously tire wear. But the rest is going to be pretty straightforward for these guys. It's still a long season ahead. They're only around 3 of 12, so everybody's still up for grabs in the championship, and I hope to see someone taking the fight to Garrett and Chris at the end of the season.
So looking in the YouTube chat, we see Sven Hartman and 11.9 and SimSport actually won in their Chevrolet C8 Corvette in split 21, I believe, with the Saturday race, and if there were 21 splits, in Petit Le Mans. And EWRL, Emerson, our social media guy, in their Ferrari GTE car went P9 in class, P23 overall. Keep letting us know how you guys did at Petit Le Mans this past weekend. We do want to quickly thank, of course, our partners here at Pit Stop TV. We'll be talking more about our partners and the league partners. In fact, let's just talk about them right now before these guys grid up. Of course, we want to thank TucsonSoundArt.com. Your picture, your music. You provide the image you want, and we'll custom create a beautiful framed high-quality canvas with a built-in Bluetooth speaker. With SoundArt, you get the best of both worlds. Visit TucsonSoundArt.com for additional info and use code PITSTOPTV at checkout to get 10% off of your order. I have one myself. I can vouch for these guys. It is great. It's honestly one of the coolest products I think I've ever owned and will ever own. Basically, you take any moment from your life, anything that you feel you want to memorialize on your wall, you send them that picture, they put it around whatever box that you choose, whatever size that you choose for your device, and it's real easy to mount. It's literally just a few screws into the wall, a few screws into the device just to hold the bracket, and then it just goes right together. Super easy to put up on your wall. It's a great product. Again, check them out at TucsonSoundArt.com for additional information. Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine. Simply, when it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy. Check them out at Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine on Facebook, permanentmakeupinmaine.com, or call or text them at 207-358-8683 for your personal consultation, and a conversation, I suppose, with Ashley Bollier and the rest of the team over there at Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine. They also do monthly giveaways on their Facebook page, so you can check that out as well. And as always, we got to thank Whiplash Media, our new parent organization that also fields an endurance racing team that was at Petit Le Mans this past weekend, but also just various sim racing resources, including paint schemes, stream overlays, iRacing camera packs, such as the one that you're watching this evening, and more. Whiplash Media is also working on its presence in real racing, offering services like photography, social media management, and public relations. Go to whiplash-media.com for more information, JP. We also have to thank 425 Motorsports and the rest of these series sponsors here this evening. 425 caters and specializes in automotive racing and driving equipment for all automotive enthusiasts. 425 even offers a full automotive shop for any car project you may have. 425 Motorsports is privileged to bring the Northwest some of the best equipment on the market. You can check them out and learn more information about 425 Motorsports at www.425motorsports.com. We also have to thank, of course, the PGP Motorsports Park, a 22-acre go-kart racing venue with miles and miles and miles of asphalt road and panoramic mountain views. Located in next to Pacific Raceways in Kent, Washington. You can check them out at pacificgp.com. Also want to thank Bradley Media Design, custom iRacing liveries. You can watch them work their magic on Twitch. Quickly, we'll thank Skull Sim Gear offering up a button box to the champion of this series, I do believe, skullsimgear.com. And please donate to help support the Northwest GT3 Challenge and these broadcasts. Donate to the Lowry Sport Foundation. You can donate to them. I'll talk more about them throughout the broadcast. You can donate to them at www.lorayas.com/sport-for-good/get-involved. And I'll put that link in the YouTube chat as well so you can just go straight to it, because listening to me talk about it probably doesn't help you a whole lot. So I'll put that in the YouTube and Twitch chats. JP, go ahead and talk us through our top 10 starting this race this evening.
So as you can see on your screen, we have we have a set of teammates blocking out the front row. Tyler G. Campbell just has you now, his teammate Garrett D'Alessandro in the front row. Starting P3, we have Brady Lube now, and alongside him, Chris Brunnemer in P4. In P5, we have Mikael Ruderbusch. Alongside him, Sven Hartman in P6. In 7th place, we have Joey Atterbury, and alongside him, John Wintendorf in P8. Kyle Robinson starts in P9, and James Hansen rounds off the top 10.
Starting from the 11th position as these guys get ready to come to the green flag in just a moment is Brandon Glenn Boyd of the 913, Sarah Rabb to his right side, or maybe even left side. I think left side in the number 31 car. Position number 13 goes to Edwin Litzoff, then Trevor Anderson in 14th position. 15th goes to John McClintock, 16th Torin Longacre, 17th spot Michael Doling, 18th spot Gavin Cohn. 19th spot goes to Jackson Lowry, then it's Justin McCullough. The rest of the grid will scroll by here shortly as these guys are already into turn 10 and 11. It's a very quick pacing opportunity for these drivers to form up. It's not even a whole lap. I don't think even a half a lap. It's a very, very short run down to the start line. You see the rest of the grid finishing up there on the bottom of your screen, and we're already ready to go green flag racing here from Okayama International Circuit in Japan. We are green, and they race down to turn 1.
There you can see there Tyler got everybody by surprise and maintaining his lead. As you can see, Brady Lube now has to go defensive to try and fend off Chris Brunnemer, who tries to make up for a poor qualify. But we can see Tyler is already round, so unfortunately the Audi strikes another victim. From P1, he's going to go to absolute dead last. And Garrett D'Alessandro once again starts off and leads the first lap of this Grand Prix.
Tyler Campbell still sitting there. Oh, we've got another incident just ahead. Who was that just went around? David Pena, I believe, going around in turn 2 as well. We got to catch up with the rest of the field, though. We'll try and go up there and catch everything else as they head down the back straightaway towards the hairpin for the first time this evening. Oh, that was Brady Lubenow putting an interesting move there on Garrett D'Alessandro to turn 5. He was trying to find a way around him into the hairpin, but you just can't go side by side there, especially on lap 1.
Yeah, the cars are really heavy. It's really tricky to go side by side, but Kyle Robinson is trying to fight it and is on the inside, and he is trying to make the move stick. And just like we said, these drivers can't go side by side. They make a little bit of contact, but both drivers keep the car on track, and Kyle Robinson looks like he got the move done. Yes, he did. Brandon Glenn Boyd now has to fend off Sarah, and oh, they almost make contact. They are so close to contact, such a narrow track, but Brandon Glenn Boyd unfortunately loses 2 positions as Sarah moves up, I'm pretty sure, to the top 10 right now. So that's a good start for him. As we look again, Garrett D'Alessandro once again leading the Grand Prix. That's not something we're surprised about, but unfortunately for our pole sitter, he just spun out on turn 2. That was really unfortunate for him.
Yeah, lap 1, turn 2, big issues for Campbell and David Pena. We also have Edwin Litzoff and I believe Michael Della Sala, who are towards the back of this field early on. I think Litzoff had an incident. I think Della Sala started from the pit lane, so we'll find out more about that, I'm sure, through the rest of this evening's race. It is a 1 hour event here at, I got to think again, Okayama International Circuit. Totally blanked on that one. Garrett D'Alessandro leads through a lap and a half. Down the backstretch they go towards turn 5 once more. This is so tricky to try and make a move in, but it is, I suppose it isn't a passing opportunity. You just got to be very, very careful in these larger GT3 cars because you can easily make a mistake, and that really destroys your run through 6 and 7 Revolver and Piper.
Yeah, exactly. One mistake on the hairpin can easily cost you a whole sector because one corner just leads to another. But obviously these drivers are trying to be as careful as possible. It looks like the pressure on the front is still. Brady Loop now is actually applying a lot of pressure to Garrett, and Chris is obviously right behind them, not really keeping up with them. Looks like the top two, looks like they have an edge on pace, and Mikkel Ruderbusch also in P4 keeping up the tabs. If all of them make a mistake, he's obviously going to be there to pounce. But Brady, absolutely on the gearbox of Garrett D'Alessandro, and he's trying to put as much pressure as he can to try and make sure he gets that lead early on in the race.
Also worth mentioning, as Brady Lubenow goes purple on that lap, Gargos the Mighty in our Twitch chat says that he finished 4th in their GT3, in GT3 in their split. Tom Athy, who was racing this evening, was supposed to be with them, but registration kind of messed them up. They were in split number 12, and Von Shizu is rooting for Sarah Rab, as everybody pretty clean through his first couple of laps, minus those couple of isolated incidents. This is actually very, very clean for starts at Okayama. Of course, I think everybody knows if you've run rookie Mazdas here or anything like it, this place can certainly get a little bit out of hand sometimes when you get big, heavy cars like this going around here that tend to just kind of make a little bit of too much contact and just kind of lean on each other a little bit. And it's a very tight circuit as well. So I'm actually quite surprised a series like F1 came here because it is just so tight and there's big elevation changes as well. I think most notably down turn 6, down Revolver.
Yeah, exactly. But just like we saw Brands Hatch, these series, they have a tendency to keep it clean. Obviously, unfortunately, we had an incident at Barcelona in turn 1, but Brands Hatch was a prime example. Even though we had a few crashes here and there, it's just natural GT3 race. It's just natural racing. You have crashes. But no, once again, we didn't have any major lap 1 crashes, which is really surprising and really shows the quality of this late race.
Going to show some onboards here as well. It sounds like we have a fan watching that wants to check in on Joey Atterbury. He is currently in the 6th spot in the number 61 car as Mikkel Ruderbusch goes purple that time by. In fact, he is in 4th position. The number 22 making a big comeback from Brands Hatch 1 week ago where, again, he was the center of some controversy a couple of times in turn number 8. Even got a post-race penalty for it, but looking to capitalize on an opportunity to bounce back this evening, and so far he's doing just that. Up into 4th spot, and he's looking like he might go and get Chris Brunner on pace alone.
Yeah, it looks like Chris doesn't have the pace that he had in Brands Hatch. Obviously, Brands Hatch is just checked out on the first stint, but unfortunately now he cannot keep up with Brady and Garrett, so it's really surprising. You can see there the Audi just keeps on gaining. Unfortunately, he's too far back to think about going for a move, but, just applying the pressure, so it's really interesting to see how the balance swings from one track to the other, not only between the cars, but also between the drivers.
Also want to mention that we've got a couple of new Twitch followers out there. I try to keep up with that sometimes, and I've been really bad about it mostly, but Mojaka and Gargos Amati actually following us there on Twitch. That brings us up to, I believe, 102. Recently passed that this weekend, and we appreciate everybody who has followed over there. Wow. Garrett D'Alessandro, he's got a mirror full of some hungry race car drivers. Brady Lubenow in 2nd, Chris Brunner 3rd, who I think really should have had a great chance at winning last week, but a very late race move from Garrett D'Alessandro interrupted that opportunity. And that was, I think, a little bit controversial in and of itself because that was really a last-ditch effort to make the corner there by Garrett D'Alessandro, but it worked out. He just kind of slid up in front of him. I think that would have been a great moment for Dale Jr. to scream slide job, and Chris had no option but to just kind of boot him in the back, a little bit of a boot, I suppose, if you will, and they continued on. They raced it out, and unfortunately for Chris, that battle just never really was meant to be after that. I think his Ferrari just had older tires and couldn't really hang on after that point in time. Mikkel Ruderbusch, mentioned him going purple a few laps ago. His lap has since been beat by none other than Garrett D'Alessandro. Sven Hartman up there with him as well. Some fans watching and cheering on the 11.9 SimSport driver in 5th position.
Yeah, you can see the top 5 is actually really close. Sorry, and they less than 3 seconds separate the top 5. So we haven't seen that all season long. So it's really cool to see. Obviously, we are not seeing a lot of overtakes. People may be playing the strategy game already early on in this race, but you know it's really interesting to see. Obviously, Chris last week, unfortunately, he lost the race due to a mistake in the pit stops that allowed Garrett to get close to him and obviously made the slide job work. But it looks like tonight that might not be the issue. Now, obviously, Garrett make a move, make a mistake on pit stops, but you know that's unlikely from a man like Garrett. So far we've seen, but looks like he's checking out a bit from Lube now. So obviously now close to a second gap. So Garrett's doing his thing that he did in Barcelona. You know, just checking out, doing something like a Sebastian Vettel race. You know, as soon as you get in the front, just check out from everybody. It looks like he's succeeding on that, and you can see there the Audi with the Quattro livery of Joey Atterbury suffering pressure from James Hansen.
Yeah, the number 61 getting pressure from the number 1 of James Hansen. And Hansen has also been rather good so far this season. He actually was, I want to say, top 3 at Barcelona, and I think he followed it up with a podium as well last week. He's second in points coming into this race. Oh, and he lunges! Oh, and he tags Joey Atterbury! Joey goes around, and he's going to get passed up by a lot of drivers here. Oh my gosh, Joey Atterbury around in turn number 4, Atwood Curve, and that is, oof, that is not a good situation there.
Yeah, definitely looks like Joey left a bit of the door open and just came back on James. Unfortunately for him, a podium, the only guy besides Garrett to finish on the podium both races and P2 in the championship. Unfortunately, he's going to be losing just 1 position, looks like, right now. So that's unfortunate. No, he actually keeps the position, so he moves now into P6. That's unfortunate for him. I'm not pretty sure if we're going to see a penalty. For me, it was some sort of racing incident. Obviously, the corner opens up, and Joey unfortunately came back on the racing line. So that's going to be interesting for the racing stewards to analyze, but you know, James Hansen keeps his nose clean, sort of, and unfortunately for him, he just can keep trying to chase the top 6.
We're also being told that Joey Atterbury has shared cars with Shelby Blackstock in real racing, so that's actually pretty cool to learn about Joey Atterbury. Unfortunately, his night has gone south, but it was a pretty good run up until then. He was defending off for 6th place. It just gets sent around right there. Unfortunately, we couldn't get that replay up. But, man, it was going so well, and now this whole group out of the top 5 has been checked up quite a bit. This is involving James Hansen, of course, John Whitendorf, Kyle Robinson, Sarah Rab, keep mixing that up, Brandon Glenn Boyd in 10th place, Trevor Anderson here in 11th, and even Gavin Cohn, who, again, up 15 positions in points as he now battles Trevor Anderson down the backstretch. Up 15 points at Brands Hatch last week. That, it doesn't matter what series, how early it is, how late it is, whatever, that is impressive. Up 15 positions in the point standings. He's now battling for 11th spot again with Whiplash Racing entry Trevor Anderson.
Yeah, really proud of Gavin, obviously a teammate, some sort of battling your teammate, as we can see that of Trevor Anderson. Trevor tried to make a move on Brendan Glenn Boyd, unfortunately didn't make a stick, and it came under pressure from Gavin, but obviously he shook that off and is right now back on the chase to Brendan, but you can see he just goes a bit wide. You can see just how narrow the track is. One mistake can push you very wide on the corner and obviously cost you for the whole sector. And you can see there Gavin just inching closer and closer and closer. Let's see if he gets a good exit out of the last corner and can slingshot his way past Trevor on turn 1.
Whoa, a car turned around. That's Kyle Robinson turned around out of the last corner here. It is actually called the last corner out of turn number 11, and this is big for Kyle Robinson. He was having such a good race to this point and now just turned around. Not looking too good for him in the number 28. Just gets loose all on his own. Nobody around him. Just gets loose out of the corner. Very interesting to see out of a GT3 car here at JP that he just went around completely on his own, just like Tyler Campbell. But you know what? They are both in Audis, so there's your common denominator right there. I think it comes down to driving an Audi sometimes. You just get a bit loose and you can't quite hang on to it. I mean, it's definitely a difficult car to drive. I think everybody shares that thought process, that it's a difficult car to get your hands on. But, man, to see two of them go around like that just on their own, one in turn 2, one in turn 11, big problems for the Audis early on.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, the liftoff oversteer on this car is real, and unfortunately sometimes you just cannot catch it. And no, we saw the pole sitter doing that on lap 1, and now we saw another driver doing that, top 10 driver doing that on lap 7. So, you know, it's really interesting to see how much these drivers are struggling, because we didn't see any of that in the past 2 rounds. So definitely we're going to have to keep an eye on the Audi drivers. Obviously, Garrett, our current leading car, is running the Audi. So, you know, keeping an eye out for him if he makes a small mistake. And obviously, a small mistake on this racetrack can cost you a lot of positions.
Well, hey, with all these mistakes up in the top 10, that's just going to move some drivers that haven't had a chance to shine just yet up into that top 10, give them a shot at getting some positions and trying to improve their position in the point standings. So that's pretty cool on that front. We do have a 3-car battle right now for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Brady Lubenow, the was it archaeologist, geologist, one of the two, leading Chris Brunnemer through Atwood Curve, and they've got Mikhail Ruderbusch up into 4th place now that he's passed Kyle Robinson. Mikhail Ruderbusch passing his teammate, and well, no, I think he was already in 4th. Regardless, Ruderbusch looking great this afternoon, and he's definitely starting to put the pressure on that number 2 car of Brunnemer. Isn't quite there for turn 5. They're kind of just parade lapping right now. This top 5, very, very close together, only separated by a little over 3 seconds, and just riding around. There's a big gap back to 6th, James Hansen.
Yeah, the top 3 are actually, the top 4, sorry, from 2nd to 4th are really close. So it's going to be a question of who gets past who and when, because Chris obviously has to get rid of Brady Lubenow if he wants a shot at that win, because Brady looks like he's dropping back bit by bit, lap after lap from Garrett. And obviously Mikhail is, you know, he's tasting that podium position, you know, he's keeping up the pace, sorry, with Chris. And you can see that Chris is getting really, really close to Brady. So, you know, just putting the pressure, on every single corner is going to be essential for him to try and make the move and chase Garrett down for the win.
Riding now on board with the number 93, Sven Hartmann. We've had a few drivers cheer him on again, the 11.9 SimSport Racing entry. I don't know why I said SimSport Racing entry, just SimSport entry. They, I guess, again, won Petit Le Mans this past weekend, so congratulations to you guys. That's a big feat no matter what split it's in. It's tough to go 10 hours and come out on the leading edge of things. As he rides in 5th place, he looks like he might try and make it 2 wins in just a couple of days, but he's going to take he's going to have to get some speed here in the later goings. He's, I think, just a little bit, and I really do mean just a little bit slower than the guys ahead of him right now. That car looking like it's about 5th place pace, but keep in mind, we've seen these cars change in handling, change in speed, and change in dominance of who's leading as the run goes on. We saw it last week where Garrett just caught up to Chris Brunnemer and then drove away. Meanwhile, Chris Brunnemer led the entire first half of the race and was just the best car out there in the early going. So things can definitely change, especially as the track takes rubber. That 3-car fight still has not really changed much here for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. They're still very tight-knit right now as Sven starts to lose time and as Garrett D'Alessandro starts to gap them. But these 3, I think, will be battling for quite a while, possibly even all the way up to our pit stop around halfway.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be really interesting to see if either Chris or Mikhail, if they're saving any fuel that could jump Brady, you know, on the pit stop round. But, you know, Brady doesn't seem to have the pace right now to challenge Garrett. You know, and just like you said, he's dropping small amounts of time. It's not like they're, you know, just absolutely pulling away in another league. But no, just lap after lap, if you can just keep pulling that gap together, you know, you can create a massive gap at the end of 10, 15 laps. And it's just what we're seeing, you know, 1.5 second gap, you know, that can easily go away with a mistake. But no, lap after lap, after 11 laps, you can create that gap. And, you know, looks like the pace shifts between each sector. You know, looks like on the first sector, Mikhail can just close up to the back of Chris. But on the last sector, Chris just close up to Brady, and Mikhail cannot keep that gap down. So it's going to be really interesting to see if Mikhail can put up a move on the first sector of the racetrack in order to keep that position towards the end of the race, towards the end of the lap, sorry.
Well, we were trying to go on board there. That's not a very good camera angle. This will do it as Chris Brunnemer tries to continue to put pressure on Brady Lubenow. I mentioned this at Barcelona, but when these Ferrari 488 GT3 cars get up to their rev limiter, get up to the top of the gear, they sound like pod racers, and I just can't get over that. Every time I hear them get up there in RPMs, it just sounds like a pod racer from Star Wars. It's incredible what they sound like, but it was really noticeable at Barcelona. Not so much here this evening, I don't think, at Okayama, but still, you can hear it as they get up there at the top of the gears. And Chris Brunnemeyer, he actually, as soon as I went to him, he loses a bit of time here to Brady Lubenow. He was all over the back end of the 11 car, now falling back a little bit, but he still has plenty of time right now back to Mikel Rudebusch. Let's take a look back in the rest of the top 10 here at JP as James Hansen has not lost a spot, and John Weitendorf is still just ahead of Sarah Rabb, Brandon Glenn Boyd in 9th, and Trevor Anderson in 10th place.
Yeah, and you can see there, Gavin Cohn just dropped back behind Trevor a bit. Lost a bit of pace, maybe a mistake, but he's running P11 right now, 7th place up from his starting position. That's really good. Justin McKayla just behind Gavin, also making up 8 places since the start. So these drivers putting up some great moves to start off their races. James Allen just behind Justin, trying to put some pressure. Also a driver that has made up a lot of positions since the start. Behind them both, Tony Longacre in P14 currently, John McClintock in P15. In P16, Michael Doolin, who is under pressure right now from Jeffrey Beck. Looks like we're going to see a move coming into their hairpin. Let's see if Jeffrey's saving fuel or he's going to go for a dive bomb late in the hairpin. No, he's not. So he's going to be holding back, trying to force
but Doling really charged the corner. Look at that.
Yeah, exactly. Dolan really brave on the braking. That may cost him entire life towards the end of the race, but only time will tell. Behind them both, Jackson and Lowry, hoping they both come together so he can gain 2 free positions. And behind them, behind Jackson, Claude Ramillard running P19. And just behind him, also in a BMW, Alan Roth runs up the top 20.
Hey, there we go. Alan Roth making an appearance this evening, and we always have a lot of fans of his out there. Oh, he gets a bit of a tap from behind. That was Atterbury going on by for P20. How about that? These two, a little bit of contact right there in turn number 8, Redmond. That's an interesting corner to do it in as well, because you have the switchback where the inside becomes the outside for 9, and oh my, that's the 208 of Justin Craig poking his nose in there. That was something. Very interesting complex of corners. Back at the front, though, you see this timing and scoring kind of flipping out. It's okay. Garrett D'Alessandro still leads by a 1.5 seconds, but sometimes when we go back there, the draw distance is just a little bit wonky with these race cars here on iRacing.com. But everything has stayed just the same up here in the top 10. Everything very, very calm right now. Just kind of riding around trying to get through this 1-hour race.
Yeah, exactly. These drivers, just as we see, they're a bit cautious in this first part of the races. As usually, under racing conditions, it doesn't matter the league. You obviously want to be cautious on the first part because you cannot really gain a lot, but you can lose a lot. A crash, just like we saw our pole sitter. Unfortunately, he lost in turn 2, and that cost him essentially the race at this point. But these drivers being a little bit cautious. Obviously, after the pit stop, it's going to be a completely different race. May see moves being thrown out left, right, and center. To try and hunt down the leader. But looks like Brady is now pulling up a bit of time on Garrett. He looks like he closed 3/10 on these last 2 laps. So looks like the Ferrari may be coming back. He closed another 2/10 of this lap. So the Ferrari looks like it's coming back, and Brady looks like he has the pace to challenge Garrett, even if it's for just a few laps.
It looks like Edwin Litzoff has made his trip down the pit lane rather early. Wonder what happened to the driver of the number 63. David Pena has recovered from his lap 1 incident. He is in 36th spot and has passed Edwin Litzoff, and Julian Williams has never made the start of the race. Michael Bishop listed in 35th, Jason Frisk in 34th. We'll see how that all pans out by the end of this one. Watching some wide angles here as these top 3, top 4, 5, I suppose, just in one group here, a little bit spread out. Continue to try and sort themselves out. And really, it's not a large gap between 1st and 2nd and 4th and 5th, but it's just enough to, I think, affect the limits of the draft, I suppose. Lubenow can't get too much of a run up at Garrett D'Alessandro down the long straightaways, and that just opens up the book for Chris Brunnemeyer to try and find a way by him, or at least stick with Brady Lubenow. But I really think as we get closer to these pit stops, you might see Brunnemeyer try and go for that 2nd spot, just get ahead of him before they have to pit, and then especially if he's still behind him after the pit cycle, that's where the moves will open up.
So yeah, it's going to be really interesting once these drivers pit, because I'm assuming they'll pit on different schedules, pretty much different laps. I don't think they're going to be coming all at the same time, so it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers handle, how fast they are on clean air. Obviously no one to mess up the braking points, the turn-in points, all that sort of stuff. It's going to be really interesting to see. And who's going to pit first? Obviously, you could pit first in order to get rid of the car ahead, get some clear air. But at the same time, the car that you're trying to undercut is going to be running a lower fuel tank, a lower weight to the car that's going to give him a small advantage over the lap time. So, just as we approach 22 minutes into the race, it's going to be a thing to look at. And at this point, looks like the top four, they're not making major mistakes. We just saw Chris running a bit wide on the entry of the straightaway, but looks like only a major mistake will change the running order for this top four.
Looks like Joey Atterbury has had some problems. He has fallen quite a distance so far, and he was up there. He had just gotten into 20th spot. No, actually, he has come back, so I guess the draw distance was messing with us a little bit, so he's still in 20th, but especially after that contact there with James Allen, man, this is not the comeback that he wanted. He wanted to be a whole lot of positions further north at this point in the race. I think he wanted to be closer to 15th where John McClintock is, and actually, that's a battle in and of itself. The Missed Apex podcast machine actually, I think, gets the Apex there in the hairpin, now down Revolver a little bit. Just kisses that rumble strip on the exit of the corner. These guys just kind of running around in the mid-pack, and this is actually where we find one of Garrett's teammates, Jeffrey Belk, back here in the number 77 car, just kind of riding around all on his lonesome. In the 17th position. Well, I shouldn't say all on his lonesome, but just kind of chilling, I think is where I was trying to go with that. Michael Doling ahead of him. He's got another teammate behind in the number 78 of Jackson Lowry. Claude Remillard with these guys as well. Torin Longacre in that interestingly painted number 20, sorry, not 22, number 6 Ferrari 488. I think this is one of my favorite paint schemes, actually. When I went through and I got all the screenshots for these guys to get their paints on the overlays here that you see there on the lower third, this, I think, was one of my favorite paint schemes to look at. I don't really know what it's supposed to be. I think I see some leaves in there, some other stuff. But it's cool, nonetheless. It's just cool to look at.
And for me, one of my favorite paints that I saw is definitely James Allen, the number 12 in that BMW. I find that paint really interesting. not something we usually see. Oh, as we have Vanaldi who's going slowly. Who was that? Was that Justin Michaela?
That's Justin Michaela, yeah. I remember.
Yeah, Justin Michaela made a mistake coming in.
We keep talking over each other. I'm just going to say real quick, one week ago at Brands Hatch, he had an incident with Michael De La Salle on corner exit. Now you see another BMW trying to put a move on him there, and Dolly couldn't find anything there. But big issues there for Michaela losing several positions.
Yeah, it looks like he just missed a bit of the braking spot and turn-in spot, and unfortunately got into the marbles. And once you get there, the car is just going to lose a lot of grip, and unfortunately that's what happened. Luckily, he managed to catch the spin and didn't lose that many positions, but unfortunately, as we said, a single mistake here is going to cost you a lot of positions, and he drops back behind, let me see, John McClintock. That's unfortunately for him, but hopefully he can make his way back onto the top 10 or top 12, just to put some pressure on those drivers.
On board there with Michaela. You remember how you mentioned that Brady Lubinow looked like he was putting some time on race leader Garrett D'Alessandro? Well, he has actually separated things into now a two-car fight between he and Garrett D'Alessandro. It's within a second for these two, and Chris Brunnemer has actually lost time here. Now down to 2 seconds, or I guess up to 2 seconds between first and third, which means it's a little over a second and a quarter between second and third. Ruderbush there with him. Sven Hartman has fallen off even more as well. And James Hansen almost 11 seconds now behind race leader Garrett D'Alessandro. So really the whole top 10 very spread out. But this top 5 still relatively together. But Brady Lubinow has some speed here at Okayama. This is impressive out of the number 11. We've seen him be quick, but not this quick.
Yeah, exactly. He's the first driver outside Chris to try and put a challenge onto Garrett's lead. And, Garrett in Barcelona, when he was leading, he was just untouchable. He was just controlling the pace. But looks like we may see a surprise winner here today. I hope to see a surprise winner. Obviously, Garrett dominated, won both the first races. But looks like that might not be the case for Okayama. So this track throwing up another surprise tonight.
And we've been informed that it was hardware issues. Remember, we saw hardware issues for Will Jones last night in the Superior Class Auto Racing Cup Series race at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Hardware issues here for Julian Williams, keeping him out of the race. Thank you for that information, Julian, if you're still watching. We're also being informed that Brunnemer and Hansen are coming off of Petit Le Mans wins of their own, which is big. Just for a driver to have that kind of confidence boost. It happens in real life. It happens on iRacing as well. To just have a little bit of a confidence boost going into a race like this, always winning is good. And so just to be a little bit, I guess, more comfortable on the racetrack is going to help Chris Brunnemer, especially if they were possibly running the Ferrari GT3. I'm not so sure what class, what car they were driving, but if they were in Ferrari GT3s, actually no, those aren't in that race, huh? I had to correct myself there. They might have been in the GTE car then, but regardless, big wins then for Brunnemer and Hansen, and congratulations to them as well. I'm not sure. I'm assuming it would go with their team in this league, PSM. I'm not sure what that stands for, but it was given to us, that info, by BRT in the YouTube chat, so we appreciate that as well. Sorry, it was Brunnemer and Lubenow, not Brunnemer and Hansen. My bad there. So Lubenow actually in P2 has that confidence boost.
So yeah, exactly. Just as I said, just as you correctly, Lubenow looks like he has that confidence to try and not only win a Petit, which is a challenge of itself, 10 hours around Road Atlanta, for you to win, that's a massive achievement, but looks like he's, he looks like he has the pace to challenge for the win tonight at the GT3 Challenge. So hopefully he can put back-to-back wins. That would be great for his resume on his racing team. Looks like he might ask for a raise, but looks like he dropped back a bit of pace towards Garrett, and looks like Chris crawl back a bit, and well, Mikel may have dropped, so the shift in pace looks like it's very clear. We have an Audi leading an Audi in P4 and two Ferraris splitting both of the drivers, so it's interesting to see that a simple mistake sometimes can cost you a lot. It looks like Chris just is up in the pace. Looks like he's on attack mode, and rightfully so. If he wants a shot at that win, he has to get past Brady really quickly.
Problems possibly for Brandon Glenn Boyd. He has, it looks like, towed to the pit lane. Let's see what happens to him here. We might not actually have a replay here, but we'll try and see. Around in turn 2, just like pole sitter Tyler Campbell. And was there more to go into that? He must have been hit or something here as he was trying to rejoin. And then we lose track. Oh, and it looked like a car was trying to avoid him. That might have been the contact. It looks like we don't get the replay, but issues for Brandon Glenn Boyd, and I think that was James Allen that was with him in the red BMW. Lubenow has fallen back a little bit, but here are Ruderbusch and Brunnemer starting to go at it. Ruderbusch has all but caught this number 2 car. I think these guys are going to start going at it. We are nearing our pit cycle. Keep that in mind as well, because these guys could just come in and pit at any moment, any given time, when they come around through turns 10 and 11, which also means if you're Mikel Ruderbusch, you could put this pressure on Brunnemer, force a mistake, get on by him, and then just immediately pit and take your stop, and kind of just get inside of his head.
Yeah, exactly. But these drivers are gonna have, obviously they cannot see the broadcast as we're watching, but looks like overtaking is really difficult. Just getting close to the car ahead is really difficult in order to mount and overtake without the driver ahead making a mistake. So these drivers obviously have to take that into consideration. If they do get stuck behind traffic, how hard is it gonna be for them to pass, and how slow is the traffic compared to their actual pace right now. So obviously all these calculations are gonna be passing through the heads of the drivers, and obviously they're gonna have to be making that split time decision, in order to pit or not pit. So this is going to be really interesting the next few laps, seeing who pits, who doesn't pit, and who's going to take the long road into the overcut position.
You see here the gap between Brunnemer and Ruderbusch. Looks like nobody going to come in and take their service this time by. So let's take this moment here at JP and educate everybody at home about Lowry's and how you can get involved as well. So Lowry's is how the Northwest GT3 Challenge is supporting these broadcasts and really just the series, and they're matching donations. Let's see, I'll just read the prompt. Northwest GT3 Challenge broadcasts are brought to you by match donations, there we go, to Lowry's Sport for Good. Founded under the patronage of Nelson Mandela, Lowry's Sport for Good uses sport as a powerful and cost-effective tool to help children and young people overcome violence, discrimination, and disadvantage in their lives. Over the past 2 decades, they have developed a global network of grantee partners and a worldwide charitable infrastructure. We've also developed a depth of understanding and corresponding credibility in our field and are recognized as a leading organization in the fast-growing sport for development community. Please help Northwest GT3 support such an incredible cause by placing a donation today. Again, you can find that link in the YouTube and Twitch chats. In fact, I'll post it one more time here just so you guys can all donate now. I definitely think you should. It's a great cause, and I'll paste that real quick in each of those chats. You can paste it over there on Facebook in case you're watching along with us on our Facebook page, Pit Stop TV. If you're watching on Whiplash Media or Pit Stop Insider, head over to the Pit Stop TV feed and you can catch that link in the chat. Again, the leader is just rolling right on by the pit lane, and nobody, it looks like, opting to come in just yet. This is interesting that they're all going a bit late on their fuel stop.
Yeah, looks like everybody wants to run the car to the absolute lightest possible. Obviously, when you run the car, you know, as long as you can, obviously you're going to have a lighter car towards the end of the race, you know, just as it goes. But, you know, looks like no one... Oh, as Garrett almost makes a mistake, he dips a wheel into the gravel, and looks like that's going to give Brady a chance to close that gap even more. So, you know, we didn't see that, sorry, in Brands Hatch in Barcelona. So a rare mistake from our race leader Garrett. It looks like they're going to be encountering some lap traffic in Justin Cray, but looks like he's just going to let them pass. So that's really good for him, you know, not affecting the battle position. Looks like he's going to be braking just in front of Chris Brunnemer, which might not help him out in his battle with Mikkel. But, you know, looks like the top two are closer than ever, closer than they were in lap 1, and Brady is definitely now mounting the pressure onto Garrett.
And there you go, that slow car letting these guys go by, Ruderbush included. And yeah, Brady Lubenow all over Gary D'Alessandro all of a sudden. This is what I'm talking about. Those Audis, they have different tire wear compared to these Ferraris, and it just clicks at different points in times, it seems like. Last week, it seemed like the Ferrari was worse in the long run. This week, it seems like the Audi is in that position, and this Ferrari of Lubenow is really, really quick on this longer run. And they're going to keep going. Imagine that. This whole front group continues on the racetrack, it looks like. No takers up here just yet. I am astonished by that. Someone who has come in and taken service, though, Gavin Cohn in 13th, James Allen 15th, Claude Remillard in 16th spot as they get themselves sorted out. Joey Atterbury has also visited his team in the pit lane. Sven Hartman, the first of the takers among the lead group.
Yeah, looks like the lead group is running the tanks to the absolute minimum. Obviously, we only have 26 minutes left, and you can see there, I'm pretty sure that's Sarah coming into the pits. Yep. And so the driver that pretty much gave us the undercut strategy, looks like she overcooked a little bit on the pit entry. Unfortunately, that's going to be a little bit loss of time. But she was the one that posted the undercut in the first 2 rounds. So we didn't see her doing that tonight, but looks like she came in for the safe route, pitted as everyone else pits. So, you know, taking the safe route, not going to lose a lot of time, not going to come back into a lot of traffic, and she's on her way out of the pit lane. And, you know, so this should be the wake-up call for the leaders. So they should be pitting on the next 3 to 5 laps maximum, I'd say. And so definitely we're going to have to keep an eye out on all the top 4.
And we'll watch in case any of these guys come in this time around. I'm not so sure they will. But you can also, if you're watching along on Whiplash Media or Pit Stop Insider, you can now follow that donation link that we've put in the chat there and donate to Larea Sport for Good. And actually, Brady Lubenow all over Garrett D'Alessandro there through the last corner. We almost missed that, but these two are now battling for the race lead. Oh, Lubenow puts on the flashers as well. I think that's just mind games. We've seen it a few times now where these drivers battling for position will actually flash one another. I'm not so sure that that's going to do anything other than maybe distract that driver for just a moment. I guess that's the strategy there if you're Brady Lubenow.
Yeah, exactly. He wants to get into Garrett's head. He obviously wants to force him into a mistake. Garrett already made a mistake that allowed Brady to close up a lot, but looks like he made another mistake. He had to break mid-corner. That's not ideal, but looks like he got a decent exit out of turn 5. Looks like Brady's not going to be close enough to try and make a move. So, you know, we may see the move of the lead just like last week on pit stops. So it's going to be interesting to see if Brady comes in this time or next time by. It's going to be interesting to see who comes first, who's going to bite the bullet, you know, doing the undercut. And, you know, these two just keep getting at it. You can see just how close Brady gets. You know, unfortunately, he runs a bit wild, so he's going to lose a bit of pace, lose a bit of touch, sorry, on this final sector. But it looks like these guys are just going head to toes, and they're going to be going at it until the end of the race, I'm sure.
Alessandro a bit wide there in 8, but he gets the run out of the corner towards turn 9, and this is where they get very close again. Lubenow almost to the back end of that Audi, and this is amazing racing between these two. I'm just not so sure that it's going to be very easy for that Ferrari 488 to get a position on Garrett D'Alessandro. It's going to be so tough to actually make a clean move, make a quality pass at a place like Okayama where it's hard to lean on natural things like, say, at Watkins Glen in the carousel. You could kind of lean on that natural camber in the corner, but it's so tough here where most corners are flat. You can kind of do it in turn 6, but that's not a great passing opportunity. I think the best other position, or part of the racetrack where you can try and do that is Atwood Curve, turn 4, but even that's a bit tricky. Now through the Mossess and down towards the Atwood Curve, and Alessandro has too much of a lead right now. Nobody else in the top 10 has pitted aside from Sven Hartmann. They're all running rather deep. Actually, no, because Mick Blue has entered the top 10, it looks like, and Tyler Campbell as well, so some drivers making a comeback. So we'll recap some pit stops. Sarah Robb has come in. Gavin Cohen has come in. Excuse me, sorry, I couldn't mute my mic in time. I'm very sorry about that, coughing in everybody's ears. But let's see, James Allen, Claude Remillard, Torin Longacre, and Joey Atterbury have all pitted. Again, excuse me for that cough. I was trying to get to my mic mute there in time. I couldn't quite get there, but still waiting for when these leaders are going to come in the pit lane and opt to take fuel. I'm not so sure that we're going to see tires this afternoon. It's I don't know. It depends on the weather, and you can see the weather right there. Track temp at 107. It's actually pretty warm for Japan, 82 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know. I think it's one of those things, just going to kind of feel it out.
Yeah, exactly. The track looks like it's hot. I'm not pretty sure. Didn't run the VRS to see if this was a hot track or a cold track in relation to the week itself. But looks like tires won't be playing a factor tonight. Looks like the times have been pretty consistent throughout the board. So it's going to be really interesting to see. And obviously the incident points as well. I'm seeing Brady times, and he looks like he's struggling. He has a few deleted lap times. So obviously these drivers are going to have to take a look on those incident points, because they can get a penalty and they can get disqualified from this race.
Yeah, you got to be careful getting those off tracks, and even just bumper to bumper. You don't want to bump into somebody too many times, even if you're trying to send a message. I know that's pretty common in NASCAR stock cars, but I'm not so sure in these GT3 cars that you want to hit somebody multiple times to try and get a point across. But hey, whatever works, I suppose. If you get the pass done, you get the pass done. But we've seen recently, whenever they make a little bit of contact, you see Randall Ayers coming over the hill, he's got some damage. Whenever they've made some contact in the past, and this is actually just a coincidence that we're showing Mikkel Ruderbusch, but they've always just gone around. We haven't really seen too much contact this season without a car in some way, shape, or form, at least going off track or just completely around and getting caught up in an incident. So I'm not so sure he can do it without some kind. But it's. I don't know. It's definitely a balance, I think, trying to balance those incidents and not get too many off tracks throughout an hour, not get too many car contacts, as Mikkel Ruderbusch is going to follow Brady Lubenow.
Yeah, Brady and Mikkel, sorry for cutting you off, but looks like both of them are biting the bullet and coming into the pit. So this is going to be interesting to see from our P2 and P4 respectively. So let's see how they fed out. And just as you said, for context, obviously these cars, as soon as you reach like a tipping point in the spin, you cannot really catch them since they don't have ABS. Since they do have ABS, sorry, you cannot really lock the tires and hope the car spins back on its wheels. So this is obviously a challenge, an extra challenge for these GT3 cars. So pretty much you get ABS, you don't get the risk of locking up into braking zones, but you don't get the safety of pretty much saving the spin. And you can see both of them are still in the pit stalls, and looks like Mikkel made some pretty big inroads on Brady. It looks like they both came out at the exact same time, even though Mikkel stopped a bit later. And it looks like Brady's just going to be fighting around the outside with John McClintock. They're going to be going side by side. That's not ideal for his fight for the lead. Looks like he's just going to be heavy. Oh, he's going to hold it around the outside, and he actually makes the move work. Luckily, that was an incredible move from Brady on John, and he gets into clean air, so that's obviously ideal for him in the hunt for the P1 spot.
This is a whole big battle, a whole situation right here. This is Lubenow now in 6th spot, all the way through. It looks like, is that Jackson Lowry? Yeah, Jackson Lowry and Justin McKayla at the back end. There are 4 team cars in a row. Let's go through all of them, because we're going to start off with Tyler Campbell here, who has recovered into 13th position after starting on the pole. Justin McKayla is up ahead of him, now running through the hairpin, and leaving Revolver is Jackson Lowry in the 11th position, just behind his teammate teammate Jeffrey Belk. Now, I don't know the team name, but they're all in a line right here with Garrett D'Alessandro outrunning the 4 of them. So they're going to have to see what he's gotten into and what they've got to find to be able to keep up with him next week at, I got to think, Interlagos. A home race for you there, JP.
Yeah, obviously for me, the best track on the surface by far. Not, biased at all, but, it's going to be a great race there. Interlagos, obviously, of all the time, it offers great racing throughout every single car category, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same next week. As you can see there, Chris was in the pit stop as we were talking. Unfortunately, he feeds back right into traffic, so that's obviously not ideal for him, and that traffic is Brady Loop now, so looks like Brady lost a bit of time on the pits. That's not going to be ideal for him, and unfortunately, even though Mikkel made the inroads on Brady, unfortunately he got stuck behind John McClintock and he couldn't get the move done on Chris Brunnemer. So it looks like Chris now has the advantage of a bit colder tires than Brady Loop now, but obviously all eyes are now on Garrett, the only car I'm pretty sure, and James, the only few cars that haven't pitted yet. It looks like we're going to see that on the next few laps, see where they all feed out after the pit cycles.
Yeah, just watching this big battle of cars. Some have pitted, some have not. In fact, Lubenow in 5th place, the number 11 orange and blue Ferrari. He has pitted. Chris Brunnemer with him, he has pitted. John McClintock, this white and yellow Audi, has not. Ruderbusch behind him has pitted. The rest of these guys in this group have not come in just yet. So we're watching a battle within a battle within a battle, I think. And they're actually coming up on Trevor. No, actually, you got a big gap, Trevor Anderson. So they're coming up on different lap traffic. I'm trying to figure out who that would be. I'll tab over to iRacing real quick. Ooh, that is the 113 of Bernd Osterhag. Not having a great evening here at Okayama International Circuit. Currently 25th. That's actually the highest he's been, so I shouldn't say he's not having a good time because he's only improved since the start of the race. So big moves for him.
Sorry for cutting you off, but looks like Brady is going side by side with Garrett now on the exit of the pit lane, and Brady gets the inside line. Looks like Chris is going to be trying to get it done as well, and oh my god, all 3 of them nearly go into the gravel, and looks like we have a nice little tasty fight for P1. As you can see there, Brady has to go defensive to fend off, and Chris obviously gets the
Whoa, he turns him!
Oh, both of the leaders.
Oh, McClintock involved. Oh my gosh.
And everybody gets contact.
Mikkel Ruderbusch, Michael Dawling. This is where a full course yellow wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, a big crash, and unfortunately 2 drivers came into contact in that, and unfortunately Mikkel just, didn't have anything to do with the crash. Unfortunately gets collected. Looks like there's not a lot of damage to his Audi, so at least that's good news for him. It looks like Brady just got gifted the win.
Oh, and he's going to go around again, thankfully out of the racing line. I was going to call it out because Brunnemer was destroyed right there. Let's get a replay as to what happens. In fact, we'll go to the onboard here of Chris Brunnemer. You see him, he tries to ship up the underside of the FTR Esports machine of Garrett D'Alessandro, and then JP. This might be a desperation move as kind of a return of Brands Hatch, where he just goes up the inside, and he just pushes up out of the corner, and Garrett doesn't give him the room to do so. I don't think either one's in the wrong, and then, big contact. That's where Mikkel gets into it, and that's why the right rear is so destroyed on that number 2 car of Chris Brunnemer. You can see it's towed out and everything. Let's check in on how Garrett fares in that as well. Let's see how it worked out for him. This is just a really bad incident.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the nature of turn 4. I'm sorry to correct myself before I said turn 5. But the track just opens up, so you kind of expect the car on the outside to just go wide, but obviously you can't really go wide until a certain point of the corner, otherwise you're just going to go into the grass, and unfortunately Chris just misjudged that, and unfortunately made contact. Obviously he also used, he thought, I'm pretty sure he thought Garrett was going to go around the outside of Brady, but unfortunately that didn't happen, and unfortunately they made contact, and Chris, once again is on the pits. Unfortunately he had to tow, and that's pretty much his race over. From P3, potentially a P2 and P1, who knows. Unfortunately he drops all the way back down, and obviously Garrett as well. Right now he's running in 5th, so that's
that
terrible.
car's damaged.
You could just see how loose the car gets. Obviously he has damage on the rear and on the front end a bit, so that's just gonna be damage control. I forgot the phrase, sorry, but he's just gonna be trying to control what he can, just bring the points home. And we can see now, hopefully we're going to see some new faces on the podium, but that's really unfortunate for the championship leader.
Yeah, this is an ill-handling race car. It will provide us with some parity, but not the way we want to get it, because, man, this 13 is just junk after that, and that's unfortunate to see. I don't know if it was payback, just a desperation move, trying to, look at a situation and take advantage of it. I'm not sure what that was, but it's not a good situation, and Garrett can't be happy, and I'm sure Chris Brunnemer is not happy with the result either. I doubt that was the intention to go out there and clean one another out, but unfortunately it is the result, and puts Alessandro only in the 5th place for now, but I think he's going to lose 6th to Whitendorf, possibly even 7th to it'd be 5th to Whitendorf and 6th to Trevor Anderson. I don't know. Those are the next 2 cars to pass, and we'll see how it works out. Who this does help is Brady Lubenow and actually James Hansen as well. I think Hansen got through that unscathed, and here we're going to see a lap car let Sven Hartmann go by. But Ruderbusch is all over the back end of James Hansen, but Ruderbusch has that front end damage as a result of getting into Brunnemer as he was turned around out of turn number 4. I mentioned it, though, at the start of the show, that turn number 4 is one of those places where you got to get it just right, especially if you're trying to battle through there, or that's what happens.
Yeah, exactly. Just the nature of the corner, I'd say. But, unfortunately it happened. It's racing, and unfortunately it happened to both of our leaders. But, obviously Garrett's going to be having to drive now a car that has less downforce, probably more drag, and it's obviously going to be a lot more unstable, especially in the Audi. That's not a stable car at all. We saw 2 mistakes from this car already, and you can see, I can just see him drifting out of pretty much every single corner. But Mikhail, obviously, that's a free position for him. He was fighting for the podium. Unfortunately, he got stuck behind traffic and looks like he's P3 now. And James Hansen, once again, he was just having a quiet race all on his own throughout 40 minutes of the racetrack, 40 minutes of the race, sorry. And all of a sudden, he's P2. So, he's just consistent. He doesn't get involved into a lot of mistakes because he's not near everybody. He's a bit slower than the leaders, but a bit faster than the mid-pack, and he's just get gifted pretty much another podium. So that might see him jump into the championship lead just by being consistent.
So James Hansen going to, looks like, continue his podium streak. Interesting. He was just riding around. I don't think he was really in contention for much other than a top 10, and suddenly he's not only into the top 5, he's into the top 3 and into 2nd place, and it's going to be tough for Ruderbusch to actually fight him the rest of the way because of that damage. I don't know. I think if he gets enough of a draft between turns 4 and 5, he might be able to get up to James Hansen, especially with these tires starting to go away. But, man, that changes everything about this race because Brady Lubenow is now clear to a 10-second lead, and he's just riding around. I don't think it's the way that he wants to take a gimme win, but I think he'll take it regardless. As, let's check back in on Garrett D'Alessandro as he still runs 5th, and it looks like he's gotten more and more used to the way that car is now driving as a result of that contact, but still quite messed up and really just a hunk of junk trying to finish this race.
Yeah, exactly. Judging by his lap times, he's on full-on attack mode. Looks like that's the only one he can to try and defend from the guys behind. He just did it. The last lap, actually, he did was 2/10 off his fastest lap of the race. So, maybe he's just on that focused mode, just trying to forget what happened and just put on lap times, But, just this lap, he was already, pretty much 1.4 seconds slower than his previous. So you can see just how slidey the car is. You cannot drive that car consistently. And, just going to be the nature. He's just going to be trying to hold back John Winterdorf for that 5th spot. And, that's just the way the final 10 minutes of this race is going to go. And, John is obviously going to have to try to keep that position up. And, as you mentioned, Brady, I'm sure that was not the way he wanted to win the race. Obviously, he wanted to win, I'm pretty sure, battling all those guys. But I'm sure he's not going to complain. I wouldn't in his position. Seeing those 2 guys just crash out behind you, obviously it's not the ideal thing. But, it happens. And since he's a racing driver, he's definitely going to take it.
Oh, absolutely. If you're Brady Lubenow, you're living the dream now. That's the easiest win that I think you'll ever get, where you're racing a couple of guys and they wreck right behind you, and from here on out, it's just going to be easy driving for him. Just under 10 minutes to go, and even if he was to lose a second per minute, so if he was to run basically 61 seconds for every 60 seconds that James Hansen runs, If that makes any sense at all, I don't think it does. Regardless, he would still not lose the lead, especially with James Hansen having to draft a slower car down the front stretch to get a run away from Mikel Ruderbusch. But you know what? Even for that damage from Mikel Ruderbusch, this is an opportunity for him to actually capitalize on what is going to end up being a great run for him, especially to turn around the narrative about him getting into people in Turn 8 last week at Brands Hatch to really even come back on this race, because he had fallen, I think, to the back end of the top 5 or so, and he was not going to get a top 3, I don't think, without that incident. Now he's up on the podium, and while he was ahead of James Hansen and now isn't, it's still a great night for him in that 22 car.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, he got the short straw, I guess, on the pit cycles. He unfortunately got fed up behind traffic, and that obviously cost him any position to fight with Chris for the top 3. But obviously, due to all the circumstances, you know, he's up there in P3 and fighting for P2. Looks like James Hansen, you know, he's going to be trying to fight for that P2 spot. Obviously, he only finished P3 on the last 2 races, so he wants to finish somewhere different, I guess. And he's definitely going to be fighting for it. And we saw on this racetrack how difficult it is to overtake. So, you know, if James can just keep his wheel clean, not make any mistakes, any major mistakes, he might be set for a P2 finish tonight.
Yeah, again, this is an interesting racetrack to bring GT3 cars to, but I like it because it's given us some exciting moments, especially that drama for the race lead a little while ago that has changed the dynamic of this race. But it is definitely a difficult place to pass at. Despite having several passing opportunities, I think, it's just tough to make it stick and make it a good quality pass. And that's the issue for these drivers that they're running into, is trying to make it a clean pass, trying to make it a quality one, a high percentage move as opposed to a low percentage move, because there's a lot of places you can just ship it up the inside, and we'll see what happened at turn number 4, the Atwood curve, when you do that. And unfortunately, that does promote, I think, more single-file racing, but when you do get side-by-side, man, is it exciting, as we had that battle as Garrett D'Alessandro left the pit lane right in between what were, I guess, at that point, I think 4th and 5th, 5th and 6th, Brady Lubenow and Chris Brunnemer, but they were racing all for the race lead, and then big contact. There's a slow car on the inside. That's Michael Della Sala in the number 14 car for Whiplash Racing. He lets these guys go on by rather easily, and yep, they'll all go on by. His teammate Trevor Anderson not too far back, actually.
Yeah, you can see the 2 Whiplash cars, not a lot, you know, not a lot of separating them, so that's really good to see, you know, both drivers pretty much running the same pace. And I guess they're the closest teammates we have on the racetrack, if I'm not mistaken, because unless the 2, yeah, Justin Michaela, yeah, looks like they're the 2 closest teammates on track, so, you know, looks like they're most balanced team out there for now. But, you know, just rounding off the final 6 minutes of the race, looks like Trevor Anderson, you can see there, is just trying to chase down, let me see if I can find him. I do apologize. Oh yeah, looks like Trevor Anderson is running a top 10, so that's actually a really good result for him. He's going to be trying to chase John Winterdorf. Looks like he's a bit too far away, but you never know. Looks like John Winterdorf looks like he got a good run on Garrett D'Alessandro, as he's just struggling with that out. He's just so beat up, just so out of balance the car. And, you know, if these 2 make contact again, that's a great position for Trevor to be in.
As Alessandro gets back to the power, they're exiting the Atwood curve. This is still a good run, I think, for Garrett D'Alessandro, all things considered. It's not going to be the win that he might have deserved, or at least the podium finish, but a top 5 is nothing to scoff at, even if he loses 5th right here, as Whitendorf nears the back end of the 13 into the hairpin. Whoa, and he actually kind of rolled up on him there in the center. I think the 13's having trouble rolling the corners, entering the corners every little bit, and is really forcing him to take some different lines through the corners and different brake and throttle points, and that's not meshing well so far with Whitendorf's points of reference. You see Michael Della Sala sideways out of turn 7 there, out of Piper in front of a couple of cars. But this battle, this is one that I want to watch, because this is heating up better than I think any other battle on the racetrack, and especially with the wounded number 13 of Alessandro just handling not quite right, man. This could be something fun to watch as we enter the final minutes, the final 5 minutes rather, here at Okayama International Circuit. Brady Lubenow leads. He's got 7 more seconds of James Hansen, who is charging hard here in the late goings. Mikel Ruderbusch a little further back at him. Sven Hartman in 4th place. Then you're watching the battle for 5th on screen right now.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna cut you off real quick. We do have another very close battle for 8th place, Sarah Rabb and Gavin Cohn. As Sarah goes a bit wide, and that's gonna give Gavin an opportunity to get past her even before turn 1. So they were really close coming into the last sector, pretty much side by side racing. And Gavin Cohn looks like he gets the edge right now, but Sarah is not gonna give up the position so easily. I'm pretty sure they're gonna be still fighting. So that's another great battle. I was just looking at the delta, and it was less than half a second between these two.
And I've talked to Sarah a little bit before the season got started. I don't know what this is on the paint scheme, but it just looks cool. It's one of the cooler paints, I think, out there. Definitely one of my favorites, I think, in the series. It's a cool one to see her running. Again, no clue what any of it is. I guess it fits in here at Okayama Circuit in Japan, but hey, you know, it's cool regardless. And she does look a little bit off pace right now, doesn't she? She loses that spot to Gavin Cohn, who, again, up 15 positions in the point standings between Brands Hatch, or I guess after Brands Hatch, coming into Okayama. But I think that 77 car might have something for her here in the closing minutes, because the 77 Audi R8 of Jeffrey Belk is just looking good here in the late goings. Back to that battle, though, with Garrett D'Alessandro. Got to get the D in there. Ahead of John Whitendorf. This is what I want to watch. It is worth mentioning Trevor Anderson has gone by his teammate. Or no, he's racing his teammate. There we go. Michael gives the line to him. I'm sure these guys are talking in Discord and just having some fun right now. But also a pretty good run. I'm not even just trying to focus too much here on Trevor, but a good run for Trevor, actually. He comes in the 6th position in the point standings, and just backing that up with now another top 10. I think the 2nd or 3rd week now out of 3. That he gets a top 10, and the number 211 looking pretty good. I wasn't sure really how he was going to do coming into a GT3 series, but he's holding his own rather well. And this battle's still just going on, but also, actually, we'll check back in on Gavin Cohn, Sarah Robb, and Jeffrey Belk. They're still a little bit separated, but this could be another great battle as well.
Yeah, it just looked like Emerson just gave me a heads up, and it looks like Gavin Cohn and Sarah Rabb came together on turn 6 a couple laps ago, so that's why they drop a bit of pace. But it looks like Gavin Cohn just shook that off and is driving into the distance. But Jeffrey Belk, I mean, Gavin Cohn starting P18 is currently in 8th, so 10 positions gained, but Jeffrey Belk starting P24 and is currently P10, so 14 places gained for him, and he's looking to gain 1 more to finish that 9th place. So that's an incredible run for him, especially on a track where we haven't seen a lot of overtakes. So that's incredible just for him to make up 14 places on this racetrack.
Coming into the final minutes here now to the south side of 2 minutes to go as Brady Lubenow continues to lead. Looks like we should get the white flag next time by James Hansen, 2nd place. I don't think he's going to have a great shot at catching race leader Brady Lubenow, but he is coming up on some lap traffic here into the outward curve. Now, these guys are battling, so he's got to be careful to pick and choose who he tries to go by and when he tries to go by him, as actually that was a very loose FTR Ferrari on the inside, and now James gets into the draft of that BMW, as this is bringing Mikkel Rudebusch right back into this fight now for 2nd position. He can't quite get there, but Rudebusch at least closer in case a mistake happens.
Yeah, you can see that it was really important for James to get clear of those left cars, but unfortunately he lost a bit of time coming into turn 4, and that allowed Mikkel just to close back a bit. It looks like he's a bit too far back, but he closed a bit, so it's really important again for all these drivers to pick and choose when to overtake the lap cars, and obviously for the lap cars to allow them to overtake, not fight them for positions. But looks like it's all clear now. Looks like he has a bit of a healthy gap in order to come in for, I'm pretty sure it's going to be the final lap of the race, as Brady Lubenow obviously exits the final corner and heads off into turn 1 for one last time.
And we're ready on the ticker to show final lap. There it is. So we are now white flag for Brady Lubenow. This is the last trip around the Okayama International Circuit for the number 11, who picks up that lead in that big incident out of turn number 4, the outward curve. And I guess he actually got it in turn 2 when he passed Garrett D'Alessandro, but really, it was that incident that did it in, because I think Garrett D'Alessandro had something for this number 11 if they had kept battling. Meanwhile, Rudebusch continuing to try and pressure James Hansen, and Garrett D'Alessandro still defending over John Whitendorf. I'm actually surprised by that one, because I would have thought this ill-handling number 13 with that damage would have fallen off by now here, JP. checking in on some more of these battles throughout the rest of the top 10, and Sarah Rabb has a mirror full of the number 77 of Jeffrey Belk. James Allen, Tyler Campbell not far behind, Jackson Lowry, Joey Atterbury up into 14th, Torin Longacre, Michael Dalling all the way into 16th position, but it's all Brady Lubenow as he enters the final couple of corners here at Okayama International Circuit. He does have to pass a lap car that's off in the grass, but, actually gets it going in time, but what about Brady Lubenow? He just, very quiet those first couple of races out at Barcelona, Brands Hatch. Then this evening, a lot of raw pace from who knows where. I guess he found it digging in the dirt, and Brady Lubenow is going to exit the final corner and win Okayama International Circuit in the Northwest GT3 Challenge. James Hansen in second and Mikkel Rudebusch in third.
Yeah, that's a great race from all three of them. Obviously, James came in clutch and obviously got that podium that he didn't look.
Weitendorf has overtaken Garrett D'Alessandro in the final corners. Incredible.
And Jeffrey Belt got past Sarah. Was just trying. Oh, yeah, Sarah is around. Looks like she made contact with the red BMW of James Allen. I was just gonna mention while you're calling out the race winner, Sarah and Jeff were having the absolutely greatest battle we saw in the race, going side by side for pretty much all the last sector. And unfortunately, she made contact with James, and it looks like she fell all the way behind Jackson Lowry in P13. So that's unfortunately that's a bad final lap for her. You can see that on the replay. So that's not the ideal final lap for her, as she looks like she was just struggling with that Ferrari after the contact that she and Gavin Cohn had.
And I really do hate to see that for her, because she had a couple of great runs to open up the season and just not the finish that you ever want here this evening at Okayama. But if you're Brady Lubenow, you are thrilled. Coming off of that win at Petit Le Mans, he gets another one, passing his teammate Chris Brunnemer for that spot, or I guess staying ahead of him, as he had contact with Garrett D'Alessandro, and just a big weekend to see them all kind of just coming down the backstretch here. Mikkel Rudebusch, I think, is thrilled with his podium, and I think those other teammates in Lubenow and Hansen as well, congratulating one another on an amazing run here at Okayama International Circuit. What a great race. This place, again, I don't think it gets all the credit that it deserves. Okayama is just a really good race course, and love bringing different cars here. We've had the Lucky Dog Sim Racing League here before. We've now had the Northwest GT3 Challenge here. Great stuff every time we visit this place at Pit Stop TV.
Yeah, exactly. And unfortunately, it doesn't get used much in real life. Just looking at this, we can just imagine the great racing that we would see in real life. But luckily, it's a free track for everybody to enjoy. Even if you're just getting into an iRacing, you can really enjoy the greatness of this track and how fun it is to actually drive pretty much any car, I guess. You can drive pretty much all from rookie MX-5s to pretty much, I guess, LMP1s here if you really do want to. And you're going to have a great experience on this racetrack.
As is usual, of course, we'll step aside here and we'll get our top three lined up for some post-race interviews. Some post-race activities here for some drivers as they're, I think, wrecking at pit entry. Looks like they get it sorted out, but we'll rejoin you and our race winner, a whole podium, here in just a few moments. Brady Lubenow winning at Okayama International Circuit in Japan in the Northwest GT3 Challenge. We'll rejoin all of you here shortly. Don't go anywhere. We're now going into post-race coverage here at Pit Stop TV.
Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine you're wedding picture, uploaded onto a canvas, and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
We rejoin you here at Okayama International Circuit. We just saw what I think is going to be a classic for the Northwest GT3 Challenge. Great racing all night long. Pretty clean and orderly for the most part until we had that big incident that ended up being for the race win when it was all said and done. But it helps out Brady Lubenow in the end, and that is big for him. In fact, we'll just bring him right in here in just a moment, and I'll give him right to you, JP Costa, to talk to our race winner.
Hey, I'm here.
Well, what a race it was for you. You got pole. Sorry, you didn't get pole. You got second place, I'm pretty sure, or third. So you obviously qualified really well, and it's not something we were really expecting. But all of a sudden, you were fighting with Garrett. You know, throughout the race, you obviously sometimes had the pace. Sometimes it looks like you dropped back a bit, and eventually, you know, you just look yourself and you're winning the race. So tell us what happened from your perspective.
Well, I started P3 and I got a huge toe off of Brunnemer at the beginning of qualifying, and I think that compromised him because I think he was trying to run away from it, so he wouldn't help me out. So I luckily started on the inside next to him and had P3, and then unfortunately Tyler lost it in turn 2, and then there was just Garrett, me, and Brunnemer kind of out front. And like you said, I was trying my hardest to stay up with him, and he started running away a little bit as my tires got too hot. But the setup I'm using, I had to pit early. I wasn't running the maximum fuel you could hold, and on one of the laps, Brunnemer came out, and I barely beat him to turn 1 as he came out of the pits, and then all of a sudden, same thing happened with Garrett, and I was just surprised at that because I thought I overfueled. I think I had like 2 extra laps of fuel at the end, and then Brunnemer and Garrett touched, and after that, it was even more nervous than having somebody racing behind me because I didn't want to screw up with such a giant lead.
Yeah, talking about the pit stops, obviously you and Mikkel Ruderbusch, you came in at the exact same lap, and you know, I was looking, you stopped a bit earlier than him, but both of you guys just came out in the exact same time, and obviously you just came out battling, I'm pretty sure it was John McClintock. And how important was getting, you know, past that traffic, you know, just not getting held up and not losing what is now the race win?
Yeah, I noticed that Michael pitted right behind me, and I looked on my overlay and he pitted 3 seconds less than I did, so he must have got his fuel a little bit better than I did. I just overfueled. I was following one of my overlays and it was wrong, and then I came out and I was battling with John, and I knew he didn't pit, and I was like, I gotta clear this guy if I'm gonna have a chance at staying in front of Brunnemer at least. And I thought Garrett was gonna be ahead of me when he pitted, so I was kind of overtaking him in the pits. But I was pretty happy when I saw him coming out of the pits, and I was just trying my hardest, braked a little later into turn 1 to get side by side so he couldn't run wide and take it.
Yeah, we saw that battle was absolutely amazing. You know, the commitment that you had around the outside. Obviously, you could get onto the bit of the marbles and obviously lose the car, but you know, it's win it or bin it, I guess. But you know, obviously that move granted you the win. So, did you on the mirror? Did you take a look at the crash between what was Garrett and Chris, or you just like spotted on the relative that they just suddenly drop off the base?
No, I was watching in the mirror the whole time because I was very nervous about Garrett having that toe down the backstretch. I think the Audi's a little faster in the toe, and he was like 0.2, 0.3 seconds behind me going into that turn, so I was very nervous. I was actually trying to hold the inside so he couldn't have a good run, and I was going to hold the inside going into the hairpin at the end of the straight if he was behind me, and they unfortunately touched. It really sucks for them, and I watched the replay, and it looks like Brunnemer picked up some wheel damage, so he spun and had to tow. But it helped my race out, but unfortunately for those guys.
Yeah, obviously you came out on top, and obviously you're the first different winner from this league, and that's definitely going to help your championship standings right now. And you know, since you won, do you have anyone to thank? Any sponsors, any friends, family to thank?
Yeah, I'm really glad all the sponsors could help out with the league. That's really big of them. Yeah, I guess I'd like to thank my family. My mom we were practicing for the Petite Le Mans. My mom watched a lot of that race, so I don't know if she watched this one. But hi, Mom, if you're watching. Yeah, I guess that's about it.
Yeah, I'm sure she's proud of, not only I'm pretty sure you won the Petit Le Mans, so congratulations on that, and now also you won here, so that's 2 for 2 on the weekend and obviously the start of the week. So hopefully we can see you again next week, and with that I'll pass on to Andrew to interview our P2 finisher and the only podium repeat driver right now, James Hansen.
And James Hansen, Pacific Sim Motorsports teammates with Brandy Lubenow. James, a big race for you two at the top of the podium, but it didn't always look like it was going to finish that way. Of course, we know your teammate there and Chris Brunnemer had some problems in turn 4. What was your view of that whole thing and driving through all of that?
So we were on radio and I heard that there was an incident. I didn't know where. Fortunately, my spotter called it out. It looks like I almost connected with Michael when I took the inside line, but I was able to get through pretty incident free. It was definitely surprising. I qualified P10. Definitely thought my spotter was wrong when it said P2 when I crossed the line the next lap.
Hey, P2 is a big way to follow up what I guess was a big weekend, possibly at least for some team drivers. I'm not sure if you were in the same car that won at Petit, but we heard one of your cars did finish up front there. Regardless, a big win here to catapult you further up in the standing as you come in just 5 points back of Garrett D'Alessandro. Just might have that points lead after tonight.
Yeah, just I guess steady Eddie. I was third and unexpected second, so I'll take it.
So looking forward to a place like Interlagos next week. How does that change up any possible game plans? I mean, this has been a very diverse start to the season.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I like Interlagos. It's the second sector of the track is just a ton of fun. It should be really good. Hopefully not as hot as this race was, but probably will be.
And James, I also noticed that you're one of the drivers that waited quite a while to pit in this race. A lot of people did, but you more so, along with some others. I think you were one of the later drivers to pit there with John Weitendorf and Garrett D'Alessandro. What was the decision-making there? Because we've seen drivers kind of mix it up right around halfway, but tonight, you guys all seem to come in pretty late.
Yeah, since this track's so hard to pass on, I wanted to stretch my tank as much as possible. I probably could have squeezed another lap out of the tank, but I wasn't sure that I would actually be able to make it to my pit box. So I just stretched it as long as I can. I'm generally pretty easy on the fuel, but I knew I did not want to pit early, especially coming out into traffic. And when I pit and came out, I had no traffic in front of me. It was ideal.
And now, what's your guys' decision-making and thought process there on tires as well during these races? I mean, of course, tires on these GT3 cars usually can get double scented. They go 2 hours, maybe even 3 hours throughout the night at some racetracks. Are you guys taking tires in these races, maybe at some tracks and not others?
So far, we have not. I I honestly can't see, unless the track temperature was like 60 C or something, ever needing to take it, or at least taking them probably isn't going to be a benefit at any of these tracks, especially with how short the race is. If it was like a 90-minute race or a 2-hour race, that might be an interesting decision. But with the hour race, I can't see many situations where it would be smarter to take tires.
Well, there you go, answering a lot of our questions up here in the broadcast booth. James, before you go anywhere, who do you have to thank? Who do you have to shout out this evening with your P2 finish?
I'm really happy for our team, PSM, and just, yeah, it was a good weekend between Petit Le Mans and this race. So, yep.
Once again, congratulations to you on, well, I guess, I'm not sure if you were in the car again at Petit. Were you? That one?
Yeah, I drove with Brady, actually.
Okay, well, there you go. So congratulations there. Petit, yep. Congratulations tonight as well, and I'm sure we've seen you at Interlagos.
All right, thanks.
And that's James Hansen finishing second place. I'll just turn it right over to you, JP Costa, with our third place finisher, Mikkel Ruderbusch.
So, looking at, I'm pretty sure this is your first podium, Mikkel. Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yeah, you guys got it right.
Okay, great. So, obviously bouncing back this way from what I would assume is a disappointing Brands Hatch race last week. Obviously, you made contact with a few drivers and didn't end up finishing on the top 10. Obviously, bouncing back, fighting for a podium throughout the race, and obviously, technically being gifted a podium after the top two collided. How does it feel, to bouncing back and straight back into the podium?
Yeah, it feels pretty good. I mean, last week was a little bit of a disappointment. Usually, it was a little off form for me from usual weeks. This week, just try to keep it clean and consistent, and seemed to pay off this week. So, yeah, glad to be up there in the running and have a fairly incident-free race.
Yeah, obviously you had great pace from the get-go. Obviously you were fighting with Chris throughout the first 10 of the race, and obviously when you came into the pits, you came in just at the same lap as Brady, but you refueled a lot less because you came out just at the same time in him, but unfortunately you got caught up behind traffic. Do you think that cost you the possible, podium fight with Chris and Garrett towards the next few laps?
Yeah, I was debating whether I should pit a little early, which I did, maybe like 2 or 3 laps before the last lap I could have pitted. I just, seeing Brady pit, he was in the Ferrari, I'm in the Audi. I wasn't sure if the Ferrari was perhaps a little worse on fuel and needed a little more. So coming out, I was kind of expecting Chris to come out a little further back as well, but he seemed to be right behind Brady. But, I got collected behind a little bit of traffic. Fortunately, the traffic wasn't too slow, so it didn't slow me down too much. And ultimately, I think it might have been a good thing since I seemed to have contact up there at the front. And, if I was up there with him, who knows what happened. Maybe I would have got taken out and I did my race there. So overall, I think it was okay. Yeah, just happy with how things ended up.
And talking about the crash, I'm pretty sure you seem to collect Garrett a bit. Did the damage that I don't know if you did get any damage, but if you did that play a factor in you not being able to catch up and maybe trying to pass James towards the end of the race?
Yeah, I saw them spinning out front, and it kind of looked like I wasn't sure if it was Garrett or Chris, if they were going to roll back towards the bottom. And they started to come towards the top as I slowed down. I actually had a little bit of a monitor issue there, so I had to just slam on the brakes and hope I didn't make too much contact. When I came back, there's a clear track ahead, and it seemed James was coming up on the inside. I didn't really experience any damage or performance issues. I think the top front runners were just pretty close on pace with each other, and unless someone made a mistake, it was really hard to pass. And I think that's actually why Garrett and Chris got in that incident earlier, is because here, if you see an opportunity, you kind of have to take it. That seemed like the only opportunity for them, and unfortunately, it kind of ended their race. But yeah, no performance issues from the collection there for me.
And obviously next week we're coming to Interlagos, a very different racetrack. Essentially, plenty of overtaking opportunities, and pretty long straights, corners, sweeping corners, elevation changes. Do you think that track will suit you and the Audi?
Yeah, it seems like a little bit of a better track for that. Unfortunately, I won't be here next week due to some life commitments. So I'll see you guys at Bathurst. But yeah, I think next week is going to be great for racing and for the broadcast.
Well, that's unfortunate. We're not going to be able to see you next week. You showed up a great race. You offered us a great race tonight. But, just finishing off, do you have anyone to thank? Friends, family, sponsors?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my team, the Holocene Sport. They've been great so far, and just recently joined them. Thank my friends and family as well. And thank you guys for doing an awesome job up there in the broadcast booth.
Well, thank you, and thanks for the show tonight. Congratulations on the podium. And that, Andrew, is going to round up our top 3, our podium finishes for tonight.
And I say it every time without fail. I think this is one of the bingo card entries that you guys need to add. It's always great to talk to these drivers, get their viewpoints on how the race went, because, man, there's so much that happens in these races, and man, to be able to recap it with these guys after the fact, get their views on things and such is great. Get to talk to these guys after the fact, and sometimes we have caution flags even during the race. That's fun as well. JP, go ahead and take us through that top 10 this evening. It was certainly a turbulent time to find our top 10 here at Okayama.
It was definitely interesting towards the end of the grid. Obviously, we have Brady Lubenow, our first different winner for this series so far in this season. James Hansen, and once again finished on the podium in P2. Mikael Rutterbusch in P3. Sven Hardman in P4. John Wentendorf in P5. Unfortunately, Garrett D'Alessandro, after leading most of the race, finishes P6. Trevor Anderson in P7. Gavin Cohn P8. Jeffrey Belk in P9. And Tyler J. Campbell rounding off the top 10.
In 11th, it's the number 117 of James Allen. Good to see that good finish for him this evening. Jackson Lowry in 12th spot. Sarah Robb falls all the way back to 13th in that last lap incident, battling for, what was it, about 8th spot, 7th spot there. She falls back to 13th position. Joey Atterbury recovers after contact with was it James Hansen or Chris Atterbury? I forget now. Running the same, Chris Atterbury, Chris Brunnemer. Regardless, it was one of those PSM machines. Makes contact with Joey Atterbury. It was James Hansen, if my memory recollects correctly. Torin Longanker, 15th. Michael Dolling in 16th. Claude Remillard, 17th position. John McClintock slides a bit. He finishes 18th position. Tom Matthey, fresh off of an associated, I suppose, Petit Le Mans win, finishes 19th position. And Alan Roth, fan favorite, finishes 20th.
Continuing in P21, 21st place, we have Mick Blue. Kyle Robinson finished 22nd place. Justin Craig finishes 23rd. Justin Michaela finishes 24th, the first driver to go a lap down. Jason Frisk finishes 25th. Gary Brown 26th. Michael De La Salle in 27th. Bernd Osterhog, I'm pretty sure to pronounce that wrong, 28th. Josh Jaberek 29th, and Randall Ayers in 30th.
31st going to Steven Erlenbush in the number 53 car. David Pena, after his lap 1 incident, actually recovers and gains some positions, which is difficult to do in that kind of situation, and he finishes 32nd spot. Chris Brunnemer falls all the way back to 33rd, 3 laps down. Jem Aiken does not finish this one. He finishes 34th. Brandon Glenn Boyd in the same boat as he finishes 35th position. Michael Bishop in 36th, 25 laps down. Edwin Litolf, 27 laps down, 37th, the final car to finish, or I guess take a starting spot at the very least, as Julian Williams had a hardware failure pre-race and did not make the grid. Again, what a race this evening, JP. I mean, we've been treated to some amazing racing in these GT3 cars these last few weeks, and it would not be possible without some series partners in 425 Motorsports, and they've selected products that dominate the industry and provide the most diverse selection of equipment and apparel to their clients. 425 Motorsports offers an in-house project management division. They are a full shop that specializes in race car builds, preparation, and street performance and custom modifications. You can check out more about them at 425motorsports.com. Again, thank you to PGP Motorsports Park, a 22-acre go-kart facility in Pacific Raceways, or near Pacific Raceways, rather, in Kent, Washington. You can go to pacificgp.com for more information about them. And, of course, Bradley Media Design, custom iRacing liveries. You can see them work their magic, rather, on on Twitch at twitch.tv/BiffDit. Skull Sim Gear, also a great partner here of the Northwest GT3 Challenge, offering up, I believe it is a button box. I haven't been corrected just yet, so I'm just going to go with it. A button box to the series champion. They take care of button boxes, PC accessories for many games, such as iRacing, Assetto Corsa, Elite Dangerous, American Truck Simulator, and many, many more for the Sim Racer and the Casual Driver. Go to skullsimgear.com for more information about them. And we gave that donation link out. It's in the chat on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, no matter where you're watching this evening. Even on our Twitter and Facebook channels, Lowry's.com/sport for good. They fund these broadcasts by matching donations to Lowry's, so definitely donate to that great cause. And of course, we also then want to talk about our partners here at Pit Stop TV before we get too far along with this thing. And we have some great ones, actually, starting off as always with Tucson Sound Art. I've got one on my wall. You should too. Your picture, your music. You provide the image you want, and then we'll custom create a beautiful framed high quality image, canvas with a built-in Bluetooth speaker. With Sound Art, you get the best of both worlds. You can visit TucsonSoundArt.com for additional info, and make sure to use code PitStopTV at checkout for 10% off of your order today. Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, a great partner of ours here at Pit Stop TV, now kind of long-standing since earlier this year. They do a lot for us and supporting us, and you can check them out at permanentmakeupinmaine.com, on Facebook at Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, and you can even call or text them at 207-358-8683, because when it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy. Make sure to check them out if you are in the market for some permanent makeup work. You can even possibly, if you're up in the Lewiston, Auburn, or I believe it's Harrison, Maine area, you can even check them out, maybe even try and get a job up there, because I know they are always hiring for their 3 locations up in the great state of Maine. And as always, we got to thank Whiplash Media, Pit Stop TV's new parent organization, specializing in various sim racing resources, including paint schemes, stream overlays, iRacing, camera packs, and more. Whiplash Media is also working on its presence in real racing, offering services such as photography, social media management, and public relations. Go to www.whiplash-media.com. JP, now that I get to stop talking for a second, again, what a race tonight. That was some great stuff.
Yeah, exactly. In a track that doesn't offer a lot of overtake, we definitely saw a great race. And I can't wait for next week. Obviously, Interlagos, my home track, is definitely going to be interesting to see, because if this track, which we didn't see a lot of overtaking, it provided us a great race. I can't wait to see Interlagos. It's going to be the first track that properly offers, I guess, overtaking spots throughout the lap. Obviously we have turn 1, turn 3, turn 4, the middle sector if you're brave enough, and obviously we have that absolutely massive straight that's going to be providing just great racing throughout the field. And obviously 30 GT cars around Interlagos, you cannot go wrong.
Yeah, you definitely can't go wrong at Interlagos. A great racing course. I look forward to covering that for, I think, only the first or second time here on Pit Stop TV, so that should be a lot of fun. You also can't go wrong with wishing people happy birthday, and it has just passed over midnight Eastern time. I know he lives in Texas, which is a central time zone, but before we close this one out, we've got to thank Emerson Arden. He commentates a lot, he produces a lot sometimes, he helps with the production, he does social media a lot, he is a jack of all trades here at Pit Stop TV, and he does a lot for us. In fact, I think he's been on all but just a few broadcasts these last couple of weeks. I mean, he has just been doing it a lot here with us, and definitely appreciate the effort that he's put forth. It is his birthday now that we are on the far side of midnight, so we want to wish happy birthday to him. He's in the channel with us, so he's just kind of messing around on his phone. That's what they do with social media, right? But happy birthday to Emerson, and that will conclude our coverage then tonight of the Northwest GT3 Challenge Okayama International Circuit. We at Pit Stop TV, thank you for tuning in and joining us for tonight's action, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. Join us again tomorrow and Wednesday for the Operation E Motorsport iRacing League presented by Recaro and the Bluegrass iRacing Series, both at Charlotte Motor Speedway's Roval. And again on Sunday for the Superior Class Auto Racing Cup Series at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Make sure to follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/pitstoptv, on Twitter at pitstoptv_, and on Twitch at www.twitch.tv/pit_stop_TV, where we just surpassed 100 followers. And of course, over on YouTube at www.com/c/pitstoptv1, where we just recently passed 1,000 subscribers over there. Make sure, or sorry, I read the same line again. For all of Pit Stop TV, rather, this has been JP Costa with me on the call tonight, Emerson Arden behind the scenes, and now on birthday duties, I am Andrew Cardinale IV, and we will see you next time.
You would go.